Page 78. This is number 4 at the top of the page. Doesn't have a title. Again, a lot of pieces, when they don't have titles, they can use the speed. The tempo is the title. So they could have put this as a title, flowing, and called it that. No. So I'm going to go through the process I used to learn a piece of music. These things in this book, they seem to be getting a little tougher. These excerpts or examples they're giving, each one gets a little more complicated. The beauty of the process, or any process, if you have one, is that it doesn't matter. Just follow the process and trust it to get you there. So look it over. It's 2 lines long. The clef signs are treble and bass. There's 3 flats in the key signature, so this is either in the key of, what are the keys with flats in it? Well, E flat major has 3 flats. And the relative minor to that would be C minor, because they go down 3. 1, 2, 3. That would be C minor. So it's either an E flat major or C minor. I'll look at the end. Last measure. C minor. I'm guessing it's in C minor. Remember, a lot of pieces, most pieces actually, will end on their 1 chord. So just look at the last and see what it ends with. That doesn't always work, but it works most of the time actually. And this is in 6/8 time. So 8th notes still get a count, which explains why there's 8th notes going crazy. But that's okay, because each one gets a count, and there's 6 of them to a measure, or they're the same as 6/8 notes in every measure. That means the 16th notes just get half a count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1. Okay. Now the hands play at the same time, so I'm going to take one hand at a time first. Right hand, you're starting out with 5th finger here. You don't need any other finger numbers because we're not moving around. And it's 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3. 3 and 5, 6. 1. So the dotted quarter note's the same as 3/8 notes. And it doesn't matter what the time signature is. A dotted quarter note is always the same as 3/8 notes. The dotted note is always the same as 3 of whatever the next note down is. So here, if an 8th note gets a count, a dotted quarter note gets 3 of them. So 3 counts. So then that means if a dotted quarter note gets 3 counts, the dotted half note gets 6. Because there's 2 quarter notes and a half note, you just double it. Yeah, so the last measure, that gets 6 counts. All right. You can't have anything bigger than a dotted half note. In other words, we can't have any whole notes here. Not allowed in here, because a whole note would get 8 counts, and we don't have 8 beats in a measure. Left hand, you're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is fun. Okay. So then I put the hands together, and at first, again, I might hesitate. I don't care. I just want to know how the fingers are working together. It's here, and then here, and here, here. So I go through the whole thing, and I see if I can get the hands working out. And then I go back over it a few hundred times or whatever, and I slowly work out the hesitations, so it's a steady beat from beginning to end. It would also be good if you could get where you could play this without looking at the keyboard, to remember which key each finger is on. It would also be really good if you could get to where you could play this without looking at the keyboard, to remember which key each finger is on. You might have to look down at first, but you want to get to that point. Then once I get that, I think about the articulation. The only articulation I see are the phrasing. Every couple of measures they're lifting up, just lifting up here. Lift up. You have to lift up on a repeated note, but this is a little longer silence than that. Go to the second line in the second measure, measure 6. Lift up. You lift up, like taking a breath. In the left hand, they don't give you any articulation at all, and our default in today's music is connect them. It wasn't always the case, but so I'm suggesting you connect the left hand as best you can. Now here, because I have to lift up for the right hand and I'm playing the same note in the left hand, I can lift both hands. It's simpler. But in the second line, second measure, or measure 6, I'm going to lift up here, but I'm going to connect that. See, I I connected the left hand, but I lifted up for the phrase in the right hand. We're doing different things in the hands at the same time. It's really, really, really super important and a bit challenging. It was for me when I first started. I couldn't do it. To do different things in each hand at the same time. Is that, So I'm lifting up in the right hand, but I'm connecting the left here on measure 6 and 7. Once I have the articulation, then I'll think about the dynamics. Again, the dynamics apply to the melody, which here is the right hand. P is soft, whatever you think soft is. Piano. This left hand has to be very soft, very light. We want it in the background. Throughout the whole thing. Well, that's boring. I'll come back to that. Then once I have the dynamics, I think about the speed. And this is where we get this flowing mess thing I got going on. Flowing isn't a speed, it's more of a style or a mood. A lot of times in music, where they're supposed to tell you how fast to go, instead they give you the mood of the piece. They tell you how you're supposed to feel, part of interpreting the music. So how fast do you want to flow is it. Don't flow slow. That's not flowing. It's not like waterfall flowing. No, it's not a race, but it's going to flow. There. That's my flowing for now. A couple cups of coffee or a glass of wine later, that would change, I'm sure, but you feel it. And then we take it further, the interpretation. I got to get all the mechanical stuff out of the way. It needs to be pretty much automatic, so I can start thinking about interpreting, feeling the music. The natural accents in 6/8 time, most of the time they're going to be on beats 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The left hand's playing on them. That makes it a little easier. And if you're having trouble feeling them, then exaggerate them. Exaggerate them. But eventually you want to get to where you're just feeling them. And the flowing, as far as I go, that's interpretation too. How fast do you want to flow? Now the dynamics, that's interpretation. They give you piano for soft, but you're in that area. If you feel it getting a little louder and softer in places, do it. We haven't really got into shaping phrases. There's a lot of times that the phrase, it's like when you're talking, you come down at the end of a sentence. You finish a sentence. Generally, you just come. We can do the same thing in music. You get a little softer at the end of. Don't have to. Sometimes you do. I just get a little softer there, and then go back up. Come down. So I'm feeling and experimenting with the dynamics. I could get a little louder as I go up and get a little softer as I come down. Hundreds of years ago, that's what they expected you to do. Pablo Casals, when he conducted, he was a big believer in that. It's fine, but it gets a little old. Just because you go up doesn't mean you got to get louder, or vice versa. Feel it. If you feel getting a little louder in it, go for it. That's interpreting. That's why different people can play the same piece of music, the same written music, and play it differently, because they're interpreting it differently, and I think that's wonderful. It'd be terrible if we all had to play the music exactly the same way. And I've had some piano teachers who insisted, no, it's got to be exactly this speed, or no, it's got to be exactly this loud. Well, you do what your teacher tells you to do while you study under them, but eventually you get to where I'm going to do what I want, and you start feeling the music. Now they want you to transpose this to D minor, okay? What you can do here is simply go to a D hand position. D major is 2 sharps, and you just lower the middle note down 1, and you're in a D minor hand position, and you're using these notes. You're just playing these notes. playing the same fingers I would be playing there. It's just in this position. Another way of looking at this one, because you're not going very far, I'm going from C minor to D minor. I just went up a second. I could just read the music, start a second higher, and I could just transpose the notes in my head up a second. So I'm A instead of a G, it's an A. I'm playing these notes. So it's an A, G, F, D, and I'm just mentally transposing each note in the music up a second. It's another way of doing it if you're not going very far. So when transposing, we've covered the fingers. You're just playing the same fingers, what they're doing. Another way is to transpose the notes in the music, the interval. I'm going up a second on every note, and I'm playing these notes. Another way of doing it is to follow the interval movement, the movement flow of the notes themselves. So if I start on A there, that goes down to the next note, a second, a third, second. Now that's a third, that's a fourth. See, there I'm playing the intervals in the music. I'm playing the same interval on the keyboard. It's another way of transposing. Sometimes you may need one and sometimes you may need another. It's nice to be able to do any of them, depending on the situation. Let's play this together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'll give us 6 counts because there's 6 counts in a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, ready, go. 6. 5, 6. 2. 5, 6. 2. 6 off.